Welcome back to the Convo Couch. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is spinning on the ones and twos. And fam, we're back on YouTube again. We're back. We're here.
Guess who's back?
3 years ago today, our second show was premiered. The first two shows we did, we taped them, cut them up, put them out there on Facebook. I was wearing the same shirt with long ass hair. But now it's the third show. We went streaming live, and we never looked back. We went streaming since then. We were ahead of schedule. But it was kind of crazy because in the video we were talking about all the Trump bashing and the hating and the going on, bagging on Trump. Not to say that he didn't deserve it so much, but the fact was I was pointing out and you were pointing out that it's just a distraction to really go and look at the serious problems, which at the time, 3 years ago, 2017, was to make sure we can reform the Democratic Party so we can take them on today, right now. And we were supposed to have a different person in the debate tonight, not named Joe Biden. And here we are, fam. So your thoughts going into the debate tonight, because that's why we're here, baby. So make sure you get over to the Rokfin. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, fam. But your thoughts on tonight's debate right out of the gate.
I'm sorry. 3 years ago to me seems like just decades ago. Like so much has changed. Even watching how I feel more angry at the Democrats now than I did then. Like I was still angry at them. Yeah. But the way they've manipulated everybody, the way they cheated again, the way they've completely avoided any accountability whatsoever. What they're doing right now, they're bringing up Russiagate again 3 years later and using it to completely protect Joe Biden from anything at all, to protect their own party. And I see myself so much more angry, so much more done than I did then. Then I was still like, well, maybe Bernie can run in 2020 and maybe we can get something. And now it's just like, I'm just done with it all. It's like I have that armor. It's like that picture of that meme where it's like, we're like Uma Thurman and John Travolta during was it Pulp Fiction, I think?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's just really bad. But my thoughts going into this debate is that the American people are done. I mean, this is just, it's been a joke. It's been a joke. This is the final debate. This debate today will have no foreign policy focus. So, they're not going to talk about Russia. They did that so they wouldn't talk about Russia. They're not going to say anything about Julian Assange or the censorship that is literally encroaching us at this very moment. They're not going to say anything about that. So, I mean, what are they going to do? Talk about platitudes and symbolics as people are losing their homes, losing their jobs, getting out in the streets. I mean, people need to really understand this situation here. Like a lot of American people might not be there yet, but they are on their way there. They're on the way to hurting. They're on the way to losing everything they have.
Yeah, that's right around the corner, especially since we have no solutions or no policy put forth to really help with the rent situation. Yeah. So a lot of renters are going to be out in the streets. A lot of people who are just what I call middle class homeowners of sorts, which very few people left like that in the United States. But their mortgages, if they didn't get help, if they didn't get a forbearance, they're going to be in trouble too. And a lot of times families are raised when they have a second house where they use that to rent. That pays a lot of their mortgage on their other house. So therefore they can just get by, put a few bucks in the bank, nothing crazy. But there's a lot of people across America like that, and those people are going to fall right on their faces, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of people who will be out in the streets right now. We are just so far behind on rent. They were talking about shutting down this whole economy for medical reasons, for safety reasons. Obviously, both sides politicized the COVID, but they really didn't present enough economic solutions, fam. So we're going to hit the ground falling on our face in a couple months, and it's very scary what's out there. The debate tonight does say a lot, though. This is kind of interesting. Like Fam said, they will not be talking about foreign policy. So this debate commission, which is supposed to be bipartisan, seems to be a little bit slanted once again towards the Democrats, because if you keep away from foreign policy, Joe has been awful for 47 years. Donald Trump hasn't been that great, but there's certain instances where he talks to talk out there about pulling people out of Afghanistan, about pulling troops out of Syria, whatnot. He's not walking the walk, because if you look deep down in there too as well, I won't vote for him simply because of his foreign policy south of the border. But comparing his foreign policy, fam, to Joe Biden's, I'm so sorry. Donald Trump is in a better position because Joe Biden hasn't seen a war he hasn't fallen in love with. He's cried at McCain's funeral because he lost his fellow warmonger.
No, that's because he's empathetic. Come on,
yeah.
That's because he's a compassionate human being.
Yes. Well, that's one thing they got in their on their side, the Democrats today for Joe Biden. But the other thing they really got on their side is the fact is that now the moderators will be able to cut the mics for 2 minutes to make sure that nobody's interrupted. Now, that might seem logical when you say, well, that's what happened last time. It was a free-for-all. So we have to do this. No, you shouldn't have to be protecting the man who wants to run to be the leader of the free world in Joe Biden if he can't defend himself in a debate against Donald Trump. And here's the thing, fam. Donald Trump is going to still be barking at him. He's still going to be barking at him because even though we might not hear on the mic, Joe will hear. And I've said from the get-go, they weren't going to let Joe Biden get back in another debate here, but they had to have all these rules to get him back on the stage. And Trump is still going to be barking, and it's still going to affect Joe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're moderating something, there needs to be some sort of control in the situation. But make no mistake, this is definitely heavily controlled because they're protecting Joe Biden. And that's very, very clear. I mean, what we've seen with everything that's coming out, with everything that's happening with Rudy Giuliani, and then now with the things they're finding out about Rudy Giuliani, too. I mean, this is just going to get uglier and nastier, and it's a giant back and forth. But nothing changes the fact, even if you don't find those pictures, even if those pictures were fake, which it doesn't seem to be the case regarding Hunter Biden. Even if all of that pushed aside, Burisma and what they did with arming neo-Nazis in the Ukraine and the money, the basic the corruption that they did and profited off of that company, to me, that's enough to really question the ability of Joe Biden to lead in a way that isn't going to be corrupt. If his whole record didn't do it for you, I don't know what did.
Well, he's jeopardized. He's jeopardized up the yin-yang when it comes to all these states with Ukraine, China, Russia now.
But I think a lot of those people that care about that stuff were already not going to vote for him.
I don't know. I think it's going to sway a lot of independents in the middle who can just see
maybe the independents.
Listen, the whole pedophilia thing and the tapes and the drugs and stuff, that's going to be in the shadows and play second fiddle. Right. The money lines are there. Right now, we're talking about the Chinese involvement with the energy company that did business with Hunter and Joe, and Hunter took almost half of the money out of it when they, fugazied kind of people to get involved in this whole deal. And now there's these money ties over there, which they really much just sucked out money for favors. So now people are looking at, Donald Trump has business in China, whatnot. He had a secret bank account, but it is totally different, and people are going to look at it differently. We know that Donald Trump, he's been, open about this. When David Letterman goes, what's up with your ties? What's up with all the MAGA gear was all made in China. So China taxed him. The only difference between China and America is China makes the oligarchs pay their taxes over there, and America lets them sway away with it. So, I mean, yes, he paid less taxes here, more taxes over there, but I don't think that's something that's going to put him in the doghouse, fam. I really do not. People will look at it differently, but all of Joe Biden's dealings with Burisma, with the Chinese company, with the mayor in Moscow or the ex-mayor and whatnot, those things are really corruption. It's corruption to the core, and it's not going to look good, and the media is letting out little by little. I think Steve Bannon is kind of smiling because he's part of this whole thing. When they went after him and they arrested him, he's like, okay, you want to play hardball? Here we go. And they were holding on to this stuff, fam, and now they're just slowly leaking it out, and the media is trying to get caught up with it, but they can't. They're trying to frame Giuliani for the whole situation. They're trying to say that, what about Donald Trump? But they are in a lot of hot water. And we said this years ago that when it comes to Burisma, it might sink Joe Biden. It hasn't sunk him as far as the Justice Department. I don't know what's going to happen with Hunter, but it might sink him in the polls for all those independents, fam. This is something we have to really consider.
And just also going on with foreign policy, the mainstream media has made it their next attack to frame that Iran wants to collude to elect Donald Trump as president. And that's what they're saying now, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Qasem Soleimani, the strike, the sanctions. I could go on and on about what Donald Trump has done. Exactly, the dismantling of that, that deal that people love to throw out as a reason for voting for Joe Biden. But it's just like really like it's just like this is what they do. They are trying to frame it like Joe Biden, like Donald Trump hasn't been like a war hawk and hawkish on Iran when he absolutely has, and the Iranian people can tell you that themselves. So why are they doing this? They're doing this because they want to foment war. Because I believe if Joe Biden becomes president, we are going to see some sort of conflict with Iran.
It's funny because that was the one great piece of legislation they had foreign policy-wise. Obama did some great work there. I think Trump was an idiot to walk away from that deal. An idiot. But that should show me he was pandering to Israel and Netanyahu. So that's what I looked at that, at that as. But that's probably their best foreign policy policy that they put forth, the Bidens and Obama. And yet they have to walk away from it now, and they're trying to frame it as he's trying to collude with Iran.
They had
which
it,
is completely just stupid right now at this point.
I just thought it was more symbolic than anything because they were still going after Iran through sanctions. So But
they did remove sanctions, whatnot. They gave them back a lot of money. It did seem like it was a way forward. But I mean, we can talk about this all day long. Joe Biden hasn't smelt a war he doesn't love. Even we talked about the other day with the old Yugoslavia, where they couldn't bomb fast enough for Joe Biden, and now Joe Biden is replaced by Adam Schiff for brains, who once again they couldn't bomb Libya fast enough. But there's no apologies for a slave trade going on due to the West policies there that Adam Schiff pushed. Really quickly, I just want to say thank you to all the 30 people who are over on the Rokfin right now. You got to get over there right now because we know the suppression on YouTube and everything that goes on. We're going to be streaming the debate from Rokfin only. It is free to sign up, so don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. The 200 people that are now on the YouTubes right now, we love you. 214 growing.
Oh, it's C-SPAN?
It is C-SPAN. I was wrong. It's not Fox.
Okay, so
I said it was Fox. The first one was Fox. The second one was...
We could technically do it on YouTube, but...
Yes.
Okay.
And the moderators are... You're going to see some Fugazi questions today. A bunch of crappy shit. Barbara Walters is one of the freaking moderators tonight, for crying out loud. So thank you for all the people who are over there on the YouTube. Get over to the Rokfin. But really quick, John Coyne, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. It's a generous one. The Convo Couch should check out at 6 Rome and have him on. At 6, the letter SIX, ROME. We'll check him out. And, if he's from Rome, hey, I'm 61% Southern Italian. We know this now.
Pasta. Breaking news.
61%.
I messed up. It's not 23andMe. It was Ancestry.com. They gave you your DNA back, but they never gave me mine. So
Ancestry.com does. The only reason why I went through Ancestry over 23andMe is because I had a desire to find cousins in Italy. So if I go there one day, they'll take me in. It's to save on Airbnbs and hotels, okay? Plus, I can meet family members. I love that shit. Jordan Allen, thank you for the Super Chat contribution.
Some of us already have family in Italy. We don't need to go and...
Well, you got family in Peru. We can go there.
No, I have family in Italy
Stop
too,
it,
fam.
okay?
All over the world.
Excuse me. I'm 61% Italian.
Doesn't matter.
Okay? I'm 23% Eastern European and Russian. So, hey, I mean, I have Polish family. That's where that's coming from. I'm 2% Swedish and I'm 9% Albanian.
He's a comrade.
/ Greek.
That's what he said.
Jordan Allen, thank you so much, Jordan Allen, for the Super Chat contribution.
What's up, Jordan?
Always appreciated on the couch. You're back. My favorite YouTube channel, hands down. Well, Jordan, we can be your favorite Rokfin channel, too, if you jump over there. You're probably already over there. But just to make sure, follow everybody over there. We got 200 people watching. A week in the penalty box, fam. But we're back, and we're bad. We're happy, and we're mad. We had our 3-year anniversary today. I wore the same shirt.
So extra.
With my long hair. Let me just say hello to some of the Convo Couch Rokfin peeps. Tony watches closely. Ardo Diablo. Woo! Was his comment. How you like that, fam? Tony Humanic, of course. We got a couple Tonys. Mad Wolf. Oh, boy. Deadhead 83. Hello from Anchorage, Alaska. We love you over there. Jonathan Melton. Trump is going to tear Biden apart tonight.
Probably.
I couldn't even argue that. Gloria Jones. We love Gloria Jones. She's our fan. And if you go over to the Rokfin,
no cap, Gloria.
We'll give you some love. We'll give you some mentions. Remember, we're not going to talk over it. So don't go to one of those channels that they have to talk over. You can't hear what's going on. We'll have the yes. We'll have the no. We'll have the thumbs up and we'll have the thumbs down as it's going so we don't speak over the people. That's why the Convo Couches debates, which we started this gangster shit, and that's why we're here. We're the best at this, so come join us. We love all our other fams doing it, but you got to watch it here. And then in the break, we'll give a little discussion breakdown. We'll be tweeting along the way. Johnny Sue gets involved. You'll see a guy throwing up. You'll hear a dolphin. You'll hear all different types of things. Hi, Carrie Mack. We love you. So Johnny Sue is on the 1s and 2s spinning and going on. So join us here on Rokfin for the best coverage of the debates, fam. Are we not the ones to start this stuff? Weren't we the ones to really take the debates to the next level? Yes or no? That's all I got to say.
Obviously, fam.
Okay.
Obviously.
Fam agrees. Johnny, how do you feel about tonight? How does Sue feel? He wants the dolphin.
Which nickname is that?
It's ridiculous they're not talking about foreign policy.
Yeah.
Because, foreign policy matters.
It does. It does. And
I yelled at some neoliberals in a convention one time.
He did.
They deserved it, fam. They deserved it.
I was like, foreign policy matters. Because they were Kamala supporters.
Of course they were.
This is what happened. He didn't yell foreign policy matters. He was like, what do you talk about? You don't care about the bombing all around the world? We're an imperialist nation. We're going around killing people. That doesn't play to your head? I don't understand how you can't even understand that. And he calms down. He goes, foreign policy matters. And he walks away.
I'm sure that went right over the neoliberal's head. Like
he said,
this.
Foreign policy matters. And he walked away. I'm like, Johnny, let's get out of here. Cam Schwari Kate's on there. Jonathan Melton. You're awesome. We should have a long form and non-moderated debates. The only thing a mod should do is position the question. Maybe? Position the question. I'm not a boomer. I am a boomer close to it. Listen, I would just like...
Boomer is a state of mind.
I would like good moderators, real moderators. Right now, I wouldn't even... there's not a mainstream media group or channel or moderators in general I can think of that what I would like in the hands of this to be with. This is a circus here. This is a dog and pony show. And... they are obviously protecting Biden as much as they can right now with the microphones and the no foreign policy questions. Just think about that. No foreign policy questions. How does that not blow your friggin' mind, ladies and gentlemen?
It blows my mind, but at the same time, I'm not surprised at this point. You know what I mean? Like, any sort of foreign policy could make the Democrats look more like neocons than the Republicans, which is really sad to say, but that's where we're at this point. And they're not going to mention Russia. They're not. I mean, if they mention Russia, it's only to say that Trump and Russia are colluding, blah, 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 that Trump and Giuliani and Russia and Putin. And it just doesn't do them any favors because, again, they're using the same exact tactic as 4 years ago. So what the hell? Like, nobody's buying it anymore, I think. I mean, there's still some of these people that are completely, unaware of what's going on that are buying it. But the vast majority of people are like, okay, like, it's just like a weak argument, especially when you're using it against people who are far more like educated on these things, like progressives. Yeah, like we know, like this is like bullshit. Well,
it's that old saying: you continue to say the lie, and then eventually it becomes truth. You know what I'm saying? Because it just becomes your truth, and they're not stopping. They're not letting down. Even after declassified information, they're still spewing it out. Really, to say that this is Russian disinformation. And then the DNI, what's it called? The Director of National Intelligence says, no, this is not Russian information.
Yeah, he said it himself. I thought you believed in the intelligence agencies.
Yeah. Oh, the intelligence agencies they want. And they say, what do they say, like 42 intelligence agencies? Well, we know one is Brennan, one is Clapper. And then you just go down the list, and it's these other agents within the thing. By the way, we had some people in the chat that just joined in. Vidal Gomez Jr., hi, everybody, from Puerto Rico.
Woo!
I was hoping I had a little Puerto Rican in me. Like when I got
oh my God, pasta.
I have some Puerto Rican friends and family. I like to be a little Puerto Rican, but I'm not. So I'm only an honorary member. And Chris David says...
Not even.
Chris David's there, and he says, nice, I'm a Yankee fan. Johnny, get rid of Chris David. I'm a Mets fan. And somebody asked Johnny and Fee, are you guys Dodger fans? I would say Fee is more of a Dodger fan because she's been here for a little while. Maybe not. She really doesn't care. I'm a Mets fan. Johnny is rooting for the Tampa Bay Rays because they're right near where he lived. Now, this is kind of funny, fam. In hockey, the Tampa Bay Lightning won. They are the champion. Yeah. In basketball, the LA Lakers won. They are the champions in baseball. So now they're playing the tiebreaker, which is, Lakers won basketball. Hockey, Tampa Bay. So now the tiebreaker is in baseball as Tampa Bay is playing the LA Dodgers for the winner of it. It's either going to be Tampa Bay or LA. That's what's going on. Your hometown and where we're hanging
Johnny,
right now.
we're fighting. I'm going Doyers.
I'm going for ties, rainouts, something like that. Deadhead83 is a Pirate fan. Jonathan Melton doesn't follow sports. Hey, tonight we got a sport right here.
Either.
Speaking of coverage, since we love to cover the debates, we're also, the other thing we love to cover Election day. So election day, we're going to have all the bells and whistles. We're going to go the 3rd and the 4th. Tony Humanik's a Mets fan, too. Way to go, Tony. We're going to go to 3rd and the 4th, so we're going to cover the election and the day after. Because the results might not be in, fam.
Yeah, I don't think they will be.
It's crazy what's going on, the mail-in situation, the polls in Florida right now.
Bless you.
Sorry, in Florida. Florida is one of those states, they have their game face on. The Trumpers and the Democrats. The last time in Broward and Dade, it went to Hillary Clinton. Also, where you guys live in Orlando, went to Hillary Clinton. All outside those areas, it went red. Donald Trump just edged out Hillary Clinton, okay? And I think you're going to see the same thing right now again as well. I think a lot of the Trumpers that are getting out there early, you know what I'm saying? They're getting out there early to make sure that they cast their ballot. But also, we saw in Broward and Dade today, long lines in areas that went for Hillary Clinton last time. So it's going to come down to the very end in Florida. It's going to be interesting. I still think that Trump's going to win Florida.
I think Trump's going to win Florida.
But it's a state. If you look at all the odds, you go and see what they are right now. It's up for grabs, fam.
It is.
It's 50-50. It's one of those states. It's a coin toss
being
right now.
in Central Florida and, being from there and seeing the amount of support Donald Trump has, rallies every other day. I mean, I do not see that momentum for Joe Biden. And usually whoever has the most momentum wins. Yeah. And Hillary Clinton's momentum wasn't as big as, let's say, Bernie Sanders, but she had a little bit of something with like the women vote, Madam President, etc. Joe Biden has literally none of that. In fact, people had to create some sort of momentum, and it consisted of settle for Biden or fine Biden. That doesn't get people out to the polls. Nope. That just doesn't. You're not going to see, you need momentum. And Donald Trump has that on the populist, right-wing side of the aisle. But that's it. Nobody, Bernie Sanders had that. But again, he's gone. And I think the vast majority of everybody else would have had something more than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is literally the worst candidate to run against Donald Trump. So especially in a state like Florida where people are completely separated from a world like California. A lot of people in California think, well, it's okay, Florida, Miami, and we'll hand it to the Democrat, and Orlando, like you said. But everywhere else, Pasta, outside of that, everywhere else is red. Every single place is red. I think Florida is definitely going to go to Donald Trump.
Palm Beach is the interesting area. That's the area that's kind of a battleground, purple, what I call county, whatnot. Mm-hmm. Palm Beach County has a lot of people that are, Donald Trump rich in that area. Mar-a-Lago's there. The new girl Laura Loomer's over there. There's a lot of things going on. But I mean, they love her there. They love those people, whatnot. So that area is rich with those people. But it does have other areas which will go more liberal, more progressive, that might show up for Biden. However, I don't know if there's enough to get Biden out to the polls right now. I'm going to talk about that whole Nancy Pelosi, we feed them thing was really crushing to the Democrats, I thought, overall. For a lot of people who are saying, you know what, I'm not standing behind these Democrats. They're trying to stall another stimulus bill of sorts because they think it will make Donald Trump look bad if they do that. If he doesn't get a stimulus bill out, it will make him look bad. If a stimulus bill comes out, it's going to make Trump look good. Trump has said he'll sign a standalone bill. But even now, right, the Republicans push back as well. They did something stupid. Mitch McConnell talked about a bill that they would sign, which went to the states and all this other stuff. Nothing directly to the people, but they're willing to sign another bill with everything outside of that for $500 billion of sorts. But once again, nothing going directly to the people. Yeah. And, this is the area where Peter Lavelle talks about Trump should have used the bully pulpit, gone in there and shamed the Republicans. You sign a bill that goes directly assisted to the people. That's it. If he'd done that, even if he got with Mitch and played theater, it would have played off so well. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't think that Biden is doing anything right now. And all these revelations coming out about Hunter Biden right now and how Trump is, how Joe Biden is connected to the financial ties that you can't get away from. They could be devastating right now.
How can this be a fair election already if they manipulated everything to make sure Bernie Sanders and any other progressive didn't make it, right? They completely manipulated the whole thing. They got Biden. They forced Biden in there. They forced Kamala Harris. And now anything that comes out against Biden on social media, on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, completely, it's gone. It's considered fake news, or you can't even post about it or talk about it, or your channel gets taken down. And now on the debate, they even cuddle him there. This is only going to irritate people more. This is only going to get people to be like, you know what? The Democrats, they're such hypocrites. They're such like liars. They're worse than the Republicans is what some people are even thinking now. Because, I mean, the Republicans are upfront about where they stand and their hatred for things, etc. But the Democrats are like trying to pretend that they're all fine and dandy when they're literally manipulating everything that they can use around them and everybody that they can use in order to protect a really weak candidate. And it shows.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why we think sometimes he was put there to lose. Thank you for the Super Chat contribution from Comrade Rick. Hey, guys, I'm 23% Eastern European and Russian. Comrade Rick, thank you so much.
Is Russian.
Now, this is interesting here. This is a great question, Comrade Rick, and let's talk about this because I'm interested to see what Fam and Johnny think about this. Fam, thoughts on the rumors that Bernie is pushing to be Secretary of Labor? How many times will Biden tell Trump to shut up tonight? So the first one, he's going to probably tell him several times, but the microphone is cut. So Biden has to do his best job he can, try as hard as he can to ignore Donald Trump and stick to his earpiece and just say his lines, say his script, say his propaganda. But the first one is interesting because we just did a report the other day when it talked about Biden is kind of caressing Republicans to be part of his cabinet and his team.
Yes, no,
so
he is absolutely.
Why would we think for 1 second
among one?
This is a John Kasich. He's going to run for president. This to me is a ploy, 100%. I believe to just get Bernie Sanders people to the polls.
Yep.
To think that he would get a chance to be Secretary of Labor, that he can do something when it comes to labor in America, but it's never going to happen. Biden's donors do not like Bernie, and they don't want him near.
They will never like Bernie.
It really is a shame that Bernie is still out there pitching Joe Biden today, even with everything going on, because there's some really dark, deep stuff coming on with his laptops that we haven't even heard about. They could try to shun it off, but this was a time I said, Bernie, say you're not feeling so good, say you need rest, get back to the bed, fake it, don't get out there anymore for Biden. Distance yourself right now. I mean, if you've ever found a time with all this Hunter Biden shit coming out and Joe Biden's connection, get out, fam. Find a way and don't get connected to this anymore. Get away from it. You don't want your legacy to be ruined.
I got to recall the moment when Bernie Sanders had a heart attack, right? And everybody in the mainstream media establishment, all these Democrats, all these neoliberals were like, Bernie should drop out. It is not safe that somebody continues with this condition. Like, that's not safe at all. He shouldn't be going on and on and on. Now Bernie Sanders, in the middle of a pandemic, has been campaigning for Joe Biden, has been campaigning for electing Democrats across the state, all over this country, right? That said, no, not one of these people has said anything about that, has said, oh, well, that's too dangerous because it's COVID. No, they don't care. They were shutting down polling locations because of COVID, but they don't care. And then Bernie Sanders has to ask for money because the Democratic Party and their billionaire donors can't provide money for people like that to campaign for him. I haven't even seen Joe Biden campaign the way I've seen Sanders campaign. And it is really sad because I agree with you. I think it's a ploy to get the progressive vote. And it's a ploy to get them to vote for Biden in hopes that maybe they'll get some scrap. Maybe Bernie Sanders will be the Secretary of Labor. Maybe he'll be involved as the Secretary of Treasury. Or people were throwing out different things. Lindsey Graham said something too. He used it as part of an ad. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not seen it. Can I ask you a question? If, in fact, they agreed, it was 100% that Bernie Sanders would get that job, would you vote for Biden?
No.
For Bernie to get that job, Secretary of Labor?
No, because that job is going to come with conditionals. It's going to come with handicaps. I do not for 1 second believe the Democratic establishment is suddenly going to let the guy that they call a communist, a socialist, a blah, 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 like who they framed as a Russian asset, even though he's literally peddling the same shit you guys are saying. They're not once going to let Bernie Sanders threaten Wall Street. They're not really going to let him have that much power. There's going to be a lot of conditionals. I just do not see how people can buy into that. I know it's something that comes from a semblance of a grasp at hoping, a grasp at getting something, because we're in a really shitty situation. So I understand that part of it, but do you guys really think the establishment who did this to Bernie, who's manipulating all of this, controlling all the social media platforms, controlling everything, shutting down YouTube channels, like silencing journalists, doing this to Julian Assange, do you really think they're going to let Bernie Sanders get close to having any sort of say in a Biden administration when they're putting Republicans
no
in.
way. No way.
Seriously?
Come on. By the way, there's somebody by the name of Free Assange, please, over on the Rokfin. Thank you for joining us tonight. I haven't seen that name in a little while. And there's PJ Aguamucha. I think I said it right. PJ Aguamucha, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
You're worse than the Democrat that tries to speak on Ron's video that tries to speak Spanish.
And we also have David Crow. Hail the Convo Couch. Watch it here. Pre-game show on Rokfin. I'm going to sit back with a fine Mexican lager and enjoy myself tonight.
That was a great Crow
David
imitation.
Crow. Jim Garrison, thank you for the Super Chat contribution.
Jim.
We hope you had a great time in your case to get the people who killed John F. Kennedy. That was Jim Garrison who took him on. Thank you, Jim Garrison. Guys, there are 330 of you watching on the YouTube. We are so loving and humbled that you chose to hang out with us after we've been put in the corner. It feels like you're bringing us warm cookies and milks after we got a spanking from YouTube, and you're just making us feel so nice inside. Thank you so much.
Where do you come up with this shit?
The bullshit comes right to my head. Listen, go over to the Rokfin, ROKFIN, sign up for free. This is important, ladies and gentlemen, because once we get to the debate, we're going to be going right over there. And you can watch it for free. You can sign up for free. So we need you to join over there. That's our channel. When we get shut down from YouTube, we go right to our Rokfin. Yeah. And if you have the extra money, the $9.99, we would appreciate if you endorsed us. You'll get all our premium content across the board, but not just our premium content, fam. Everybody else's premium content, advertisement free. Who are some of the names on Rokfin? Go ahead.
Well, the one that got shut down, the Last American Vagabond.
He's over there.
You should go see them.
His channel got deleted.
Deleted completely.
Can I say something, fam? Can you imagine this, right? Johnny, right? Say he's working off. He's not working off a lot of hardware, software. That was his archive. That was his dictionary. That was his encyclopedia. That was his footprint. His digital footprint on history is now deleted. Yeah. So I don't know him personally. I'd love to get Ryan Christian on the show. That is his name, Ryan Christian. But I pray to God that he had a backup of all that stuff, because some of his work in real time was amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Extremely
The Last American Vagabond.
In-depth, informative, like actual really great journalism, really great exposés. I mean, just on every single topic. And it's really a shame. Like, even if you don't agree with somebody, you do not pray and are happy and gleeful that they're getting censored, especially because we know this is because of Joe Biden and the elections. I mean, this is all in an effort that's even bigger than Joe Biden. This is an effort to manipulate the elections, to maintain the status quo, to use the right conspiracy theory as the excuse when really they're going after the anti-establishment, who is really holding these people accountable and exposing them in every way. And so I mentioned them, but there's countless others. You know, there's a bunch of people on Rokfin, Jimmy Dore, Graham, Ron, you know, District 34 with Tina. There's just Kim Iversen. There's so many people you guys can watch. And a lot of people are definitely posting there and going there because we don't know. Yeah. This is the beginning. And Whitney Webb called this out a long time ago. She said that there's going to be a purge. And this is it. It's coming in. We don't know. We could be shut down tomorrow. We could be shut down the next day. We're risking actually getting shut down by covering the elections, because YouTube said that they only listen to what the AP says, even though the AP is
reliable
propaganda.
Sources.
Reliable sources, which is the AP, because everybody gets their shit from the
channel.
AP. And they're literally lying about the situation in Bolivia. They completely lied about that. They're propagandists. It's really big right now, and Glenn Greenwald today had to call people out on this whole censorship thing. Just, it's disgusting, really, especially from a journalistic point of view. We can't even talk about this now because they're like making it out to be a conspiracy theory. Yeah,
you can't talk about pedophilia, you can't talk about aggressions from Israel, and you can't talk about elections. And by the way, we have some more people just joined on. Chris David, Carrie Mark, how you doing? What's that? No, not really. Do we want to or no? I don't want to hear his fucking dumbass. Chris David. Chris David is over here. MT Unit is joining us. That's awesome. Edwin Medina, he says, listen what Ed Medina says. My man over here, he goes, pasta on that salesman shit right now, and I love it. Laughing my ass off. Real homies watch on Rokfin. That's right, Edwin Medina. We love you. Thank you so much. Teenage Yippie, where the hell have you been? The People's Elbow. The People's Elbow is back. Thank you. We've been waiting for you. Cam Schwari, Kate. And some people were talking about the backup channel for Christian for the Last American Vagabond is up. So the backup channel is there. I don't know if that includes his old stuff. And that would be a shame if they took all that other stuff down, like I said.
You should always just, if you're a creator, content creator of any kind, always have it saved. Because
we if you can. I mean, some people can. I mean, they're just not running on a lot of good hardware and software. They don't have a Jonny Tsunami like that. And Jonny Tsunami, his other channel is the True Rebel Network. True Rebel Network. Ladies and gentlemen, go over there, subscribe to as well. If they shut us down over here, we'll jump up over there. That's another home away from home. So we have that going on.
I want to thank Niko and the MCSC network for also letting us stream when we were down there as well, because, you know, it's. I think we're gonna have to build some sort of co-op, some sort of thing. I was talking to Steve. Yeah. We need to have like and Jason's interested too. Jason Burmas.
Jason Burmas is a great
panel
name too.
Of sorts of how to deal with this censorship, because it's coming, it's here, and it's not gonna go away anytime soon.
I want to throw a special shout out to Jason Burmas, and I want you to go back and watch some of his stuff, ladies and gentlemen, because I really thought, I never was a big Jason Burmas guy. I know he was a 9/11 truther. He made some great documentaries and stuff, but this is a guy people will like, oh, he's a QAnon freak. No, he bashes QAnon more than any guy in that genre, that arena, than anybody I know. He calls out the bullshit in all the time. He also links the pedophilia cases back to the Republicans back in the George Bush days and stuff. The guy is just a bunch of knowledge. He will be voting for Donald Trump. He is more of that libertarian, right-minded, freedom of speech person, but he is so petrified of what the Democrats are doing, and people like Susan Wojcicki. You know, he did a video on that Susan Wojcicki thing as well, and he's so petrified about the civil liberties that could be infringed upon, and the Democratic establishment's connections right now with some of these elite oligarchs.
They're showing what they're doing. They're showing it already. They're showing you how they would operate.
Yes, and now he's not a big Trump fan, crazy, but he feels that he has to vote for Trump right now. But ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, go over and watch some stuff. He's got some great documentaries if you want to watch about 9/11, and he'll debate anybody when it comes to 9/11. That guy knows more than Gravel about the 9/11 situation. It's almost like he's got intelligence. Go over and check him out. He's a great guy. Immediately when I got we got suspended and we got put in a corner, I called him up. I was on a show the very next day. Several hundred watchers on YouTube. A lot of people watching on Rokfin. So go over and check his stuff. He's on Rokfin as well, and he's always scared about censorship. He's had strikes before and stuff deleted and taken down. And it's just a very scary time right now, fam, when it comes to censorship. And it's really a shame that the Democrats are cheering it on. So
yeah. I mean, they profit off of us fighting each other, right, fam?
So we have 85 people watching on the Convo Couch Rokfin. This is great, guys. We need to get up there. Let's
get to 100.
Let's get to 100 pregame. We got 4 minutes. Let's get to 100. We've never been 100 before the debate starts. We want to get to 300 watchers tonight. Let's get to 100 right now. Pregame. Rocky Bellinger's over here hanging out. We love our Rocky.
Fam.
Yes. Holly Horn. She's still there hanging out. We have all the cool people hanging on out. Zach W. What am I talking? Who is he talking about? Zach W. If you're not late to the party, then you'll know what's going on, okay? Get your ass here on time. 87 watchers. We're going to get ready to get going soon, fam. What do you think Joe Biden has to do to come out of this tonight, fam? If you're working for Joe Biden, they paid you millions of dollars. Say, stop working for Vladimir, work for Joe Biden. What does he have to do today to come out with something positive?
Literally not compete to be the better Republican against Donald Trump, because that's all that they're doing. He would have to shift his whole strategy. Literally be like, okay, well, you know what? We're going to work to reduce fracking and give you guys an incentive by creating jobs in this sector with new technology. And if Medicare for All hits my desk, I will pass it. Something as simple as that, like that, I think would get him.
He can say he could consider it. You know what I'm saying?
The public option is even out. That's even out. So again, this is just grasping, because I don't think there's really anything he can do. He cemented himself as the wannabe guy that's going after the Republicans who hate Trump, and that's that, rather than going out for everybody else that's the progressives and stuff. So I really don't see what he can do. But if he can just focus on policy and not let Donald Trump control the debate, because again, Donald Trump often is able to control the debate. He'll say something that'll get the other person to respond, and that'll be it. And then you're in his control. He's manipulating the situation. And I just don't see how Joe Biden is going to be able to not do that.
I think that's the key, fam. He's got to drive his own bus. He can't let Donald Trump get in his head. Rather than try to out-Trump Trump, just ignore him. Be more presidential. Just look straight. And you know what? He doesn't even have to lie. He can just fabricate. Listen, I once said that I'm not for Medicare for all, but with everything going on, if it hits my desk, I got to consider it. He'll never do it, but if he says that, he'll dupe a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what? I talked about not banning fracking, but we have to go easy on the fracking. So maybe no new fracking or something. Literally obfuscate a little bit, lie, kind of go off. We have 98 people. We have 5 minutes to get 2 more people. Let's get in there. But that's the only way he wins today. He can't let Trump out-Trump him. Anna Acevedo is over. Nice. Hanging on out. Dave Hardbrook is there. Zach W. We said his name last time. Brett Fairchild says, Russell Crowe looking good. Talking about me at Pasta. Somebody put that up there today. Like, Pasta looks like Russell Crowe. Yeah, the chubby Russell Crowe, not the old school Russell Crowe. Chris David has his beer. He's toasting. I saw somebody else that was brand new over here, too. I love to see
Toast for
these
me,
people.
Chris, because I want a beer, too.
Death Leopard says, sup, fam? About time I jumped onto Rokfin. Well, we need 3 more people now because we lost somebody. We need 100 before we get started, just so Fee is happy. And we have some Chupa Chats on over. Chupa Chats. All right, so let's get to the first one right here. Hold on. Guys, thank you for these Super Chat situations.
It's
these
that
donations.
Brooklyn tongue, fam. It's
my
that
Brooklyn tongue. It gets in my way, fam. So we have Malik Clary, and it came up on the screen there. Look at that. Johnny gets everything going here. All the bells and whistles at the Rokfin and the YouTubes. Hi, y'all. It's the look of the face. Heart, you guys are my favorite. And I felt like there was something missing when you guys got censored. So I'll try to be a Patreon and support you on Rokfin tonight. Keep doing great work, and welcome back, Malik Clary.
Thank you, Malik Clary.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.
We do appreciate you wholeheartedly, and we know when we get these donations right now, it's tough times. So we appreciate the little small ones, the love, or even just watching and subscribing. It really does mean a lot to us.
Just sharing, clicking, like,
all that stuff.
We
were talking. It means so much to us because what we experienced the other day at this time with everything going crazy. You know what I'm saying? The Last American Vagabond. The 2 reporters you were talking about that being
Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett.
I mean, those are bells and those are like signs for the establishment to go shut these people down. Colby Stevens, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Fan was waiting for that one. Thank you for hosting this. We need more independent media to cover these things. I don't want to watch more mainstream media garbage. Keep up the good work, guys. Hey, you don't have to watch the mainstream media, right, fam?
No, not at all. You can watch us instead.
Couch.
And we have we're doing, like he said, all the bells and whistles out for the election day, November 3rd and 4th.
Yes. So thank you for those Super Chat contributions. Guys, we are over 100.
Yay.
We have 107 people. We are minutes away from the debate. Now, remember what we'll do for the debate. We have 2 signs over here. Fam has a couple signs off to the side. We have a no, and we have a yes. We also have a thumbs down and a thumbs up. So we will not vocally interrupt. Maniac is there. How you doing? We will not vocally interrupt the debate so you can hear the debate in its entirety.
I wish we could because you know what? Sometimes.
Well, Johnny will be there to throw some dolphins, to throw some throw-ups, to throw some hulks. We have all these little fun gadgets that Johnny will put up over there on the screen during the commercial breaks, which I believe there's only 2 of them. We'll stop. We'll give a little bit of an analysis, and you can watch it here on Rokfin. Unfortunately, on YouTube, we're not going to be watching it there. So if you're on the YouTube now, get over to the Rokfin. We're going to be out. It's any second now. We have 113 watchers. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause.
What'd you say, Johnny? We're staying on YouTube, yeah. Yeah. I think because it wasn't on Fox. We said if it was C-SPAN, we would. Well, I don't know. I'm good either way, but that's what he said. Johnny's the engineer. I trust.
Right out of the penalty box?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I mean, unless, you know.
Okay. Listen, if we do get shut down, go over to the Rokfin. In fact, we would prefer you go over to the Rokfin right now if you can, okay? Because we never know what's going to happen. So let's get started here.
We're like scared of getting shut down now because anything we do, they're watching us. They're watching us like a hawk.
All right, let's go. We're going to bring you on in, and we'll see you later.
You can leave the mics on then, I guess, a little bit. Okay. Let's see what this person says.
Mrs. Welker fixing her hair. Thumbs up.
Nope. They're late?
Oh, Biden's having problems with his
late.
earpiece. Oh, Roshan's on. Rokfin.
Hi, Roshan.
I know he's always on Facebook. Dude, I haven't even looked at our Facebook.
Oh, Niko's on too.
Yep.
So if you guys are watching multiple streams, just have all of them on. Just support everybody at the same time.
Zach W is here at the party. Hi, Zach. CyberDoc. Mavana Linworth. Everybody do the thumbs up. Here we go. There you go, Yippee. 120 on Rokfin fams. That's
nice.
Rocky Bellinger.
We love the Rokfin folks. We love all the folks.
I predict not one question about Hunter Biden.
Of course.
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
There you go. Your first thumbs down, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh. Yeah, can we get some new candidates? I'm not really liking these.
Look at Donald Trump. He looks like he's stepping in there for a wrestling match. Joe Biden.
WWE. And in this corner.
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer. And the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on. But on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now.
Gotta get to China.
If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators. We're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you. And your
comments,
you talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well. And we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, because this is new information. You have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved? Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year. President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan. I don't think we're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his
chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace. But he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy.
That's something she shouldn't do right there. That's
respond to that.
30 seconds, please. And then I have a question.
Number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he has never said, he said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened?
What did
the president say? Joe? He said, don't worry. It's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing, you're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even, and because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You certainly did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
this. He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
that's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies for dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the neighborhood, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight, and they're dying. They're dying.
I gotta agree with him on this one.
And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
about... When you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed. And they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're going to move on.
The Wall Street one, I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money. Tremendous amounts of money.
You both take it.
And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Don't tell me about Wall Street.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials
I think Bernie
confirmed
Sanders
again
stepped
that
in there
both
for a
Russia
moment.
and Iran are working to influence this election.
I
Both
thought no
countries
foreign
have
policy.
obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife. And you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that. And through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said, the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia.
That is
between
true.
The sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30 seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever, number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years, go look at them, 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions about all of this, but I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you have a deadline for when you're going to release them to the American people?
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
So,
President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
Sure.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. $48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent $1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
But could I just one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy
I'm going to let the Vice President
That's
respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly,
basis
Vice
for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money every
President Trump,
place
thank
he
you. We
goes.
do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay, very quickly, and then
His
we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5 billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make
all,
them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't
No,
come
no,
from
yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is. It's called China. China paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about
I'm not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got
President
elected.
Let's
Get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
we
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat?
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds, President.
They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And that's okay. You know what, North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on, 'cause
countries
we
is
have
a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to all
2 or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country had.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice, they want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't. Not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response to them? I say
it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like he went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way.
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
he goes for a year. There will be no fracking.
We have a number of topics we're going to get to.
That's a big question.
We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized medicine.
I have to respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening
public
on Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroyed, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They want to make it work.
Okay, let's let Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of it. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm going to move on. Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars. Because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on,
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to the next question.
And the people of Pennsylvania will show you that.
Let me move on to my next question, gentlemen.
They understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. Bullshit. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they could keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with these guys?
The bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
If I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want to get your
we have
reaction.
to help our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very recently.
We have to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
in a
what I really like,
administration?
in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through merit.
But how will you reunite these kids with their families,
Let me just tell you,
Mr. President?
they built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built. In 2014, that was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Big, real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not
They built the
separate
cages.
They,
who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
who
we're
built the
talking
cages,
about.
Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone.
I mean,
nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go. It's
caused the
criminal.
problem, Joe.
It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this.
immigration.
They
10
went down.
seconds,
We
and
brought
then I need to ask a
reporters,
question.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some
and
of
have
them
gotten
haven't been
such
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy, and they want to do that, is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal. And you say, oh, no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
Kristen, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released, and guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
so
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, let's give Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
You don't know the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law. What he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child, when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
You're absolutely right.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform. Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform. prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the Black and Hispanic communities, and then historically Black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically Black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice President?
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent Black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up
questions. If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe.
Oh, look at it.
They're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody's
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look,
very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay. Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy has a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
No, he made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
you said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
You said,
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put tens of thousands of black men, mostly, in jail.
All right, let me ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because
Biden
if you look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about
very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
one of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change it since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
Quick response, and then we're going to move on to climate change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
Oh, bring the Congress for your bills.
That's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe.
All right.
Sometimes you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Bullshit.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Pro-fucking oil president.
Climate change,
So
climate
you ask.
warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan. That his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things. Okay. And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan plan endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have some follow-ups.
We are energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist
solar.
Said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So
false.
It's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is he's flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it, but it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then we have...
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they are making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them. to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. Okay. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All right.
And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there were first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
Oh, I see.
And here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context. But the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
gonna get
question
China
to
to
both
do
of
it?
you. No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We
going
have
to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our
rejoin
final
Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight.
And
most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great
let's
night.
Just do a quick. Okay, guys. All right. So.
Oh my
fams.
Lord! Well, listen, that was the best debate of the. Well, there was only two between these guys, but that
Well,
was definitely
the bar was set really low. Here
Yeah, I
for
mean,
fams.
it was
Like,
Joe's best debate.
It was.
It was his
But
best debate,
even
but he got
so-
beat up by Trump still most of the time. Yeah.
To everything that Joe Biden was saying, well, I believe that we need to go into green energy, or I believe that we need to help people, lift them out of poverty. The economy is bad. People are hurting. Donald Trump could easily say, well, why didn't you do something about it
For
in those
47
8 years, Joe? Where have you been, Joe? I mean, that's it, because it's true. Because the only reason Joe Biden is talking about these things is because he is running for president. Once he gets in there, do you really believe he's going to do any of this? No, because his whole record shows how he operates. It shows where he stands. So honestly, like anything that Joe Biden said regarding race, 1984 crime bill. I mean, Donald Trump hit every single one of them. Joe Biden brings up Russia. Donald Trump turns that around and talks about Ukraine, Burisma, the dealings in China, how Russiagate was a complete hoax. I mean, every single thing and every single time he just made Biden look like the hypocrite.
Yeah. And this was also to the mainstream media of sorts. I believe, does she work for ABC or CBS or NBC? I can't remember where Kristen Welker works. But this was obviously another situation where they can get some of these serious scandals out in front of them. That's what the media does. They get out in front of stuff if it's going to bring too much heat. In this particular case, the laptop, they knew he was going to mention it. They were going to mention what was going on in China and the Hunter Biden situation.
Yep.
Me and Johnny were listening to the press conference with that gentleman who was one of the partners of Hunter Biden, and he's just singing the praise and the whistles of what really went on. And the big guy, they haven't confirmed who the big guy is, but like Trump said, I heard that was Donald Trump. That's who the big guy is, meaning that Joe Biden, Trump was saying the big guy is, I think it's you, Joe. And the big guy got a lot of kickbacks in through those emails, those WhatsApp app mentions. So, but what they do, the media, is when scandals are upon them or there's an issue, they try to get out in front of it. And they try to water it down, let the media go after it. But what they're doing right now is they're releasing this information slowly. So if the media tries to get out in front of it, they can sometimes hang themselves and they come back with more information. So now the Russian disinformation kind of thing was like, oh, it's just Russian disinformation. But here you go, a guy having a press conference going, nope, I was his ex-partner. This ain't Russian disinformation. I got everything. I got 3 phones here and I got it all. So they did try to get out in front of it. They also did try to get in front of his mistakes. Like they realized that 1994 crime bill was a big mistake. Donald Trump was going to hound it. But what did Joe Biden do? It was a mistake. It was wrong. We also tried to correct that mistake by releasing 1,000 people from jail to your 30. So, he tries to one-up him and try to say it's a mistake. So they're really trying to get out in front of these mistakes and clear them and wipe the slate clean.
Right now,
But,
days before the November 3rd election. It's too little too late, in my opinion. And frankly, it was very hypocritical of the entire mainstream media to say, okay, well, no foreign policy
questions.
No foreign policy questions. And what does she do? She literally brings up the supposed ties to Iran, pushing for Donald Trump to win, which is complete lunacy. We talked about it even before this. And Donald Trump, too, on Russia. Donald Trump has been more hawkish on Russia when it comes to sanctions, when it comes to everything else he's done. They're painting him as Putin's best friend. That's not the case. And wait, the North Korea situation.
Yeah.
Donald Trump looked like the Democrat in that situation. And
Democrat.
why are you guys making me say that? Why is the Democratic Party so hawkish and has turned into such neocons that you have Joe Biden over there talking up war.
And it kind of makes you think that stuff between the businesses between Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and China are for real, because he's trying to overcompensate. Like, I moved all those troops up to the border from South Korea. Why? Because he's a maniac. And I told him that they can't have no-fly zones in the South China Sea. I'll tell them we'll fly over there anyways. He sounds like a neocon. Like, really, like, crazy, where Donald Trump is like, well, I'm a weird guy, he's a weird guy, and we talked, and we made love, and everything's good, and now there's no war. Obama's biggest mistake, he was in the White House, it was supposed to be a 15-minute conversation, it was an hour. His biggest mistake was that, is that North Korea, it has a problem. You know what I'm saying? I worked it out with him. Now there's no war, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, this is just really bad. The Democrats look like hypocrites. Joe Biden looked like he was on the defensive again. Donald Trump once again dominated the debate. Joe Biden was able to throw in some punches there because specifically on climate change, specifically also on immigration, he used that cause. Of course, that is one of the things that he is using, and a little bit on the race issue, because of course, Donald Trump jumps into the whole, he plays to his base when it comes to immigration, when it comes to the protests and the racism and all of that. He totally plays to his base. He says disgusting things. I mean, say that he did more for black people than Abraham Lincoln
Since Abraham Lincoln.
Ridiculous.
The moderators were definitely a little bit more on Joe's side, but not enough, because they pushed back against Donald Trump. But then they came up with some tough questions for Joe. But like I said, that was so he can get ahead of it. But even the immigration situation, you know what I'm saying? I wished, fam, if it was us, it was Gloria LaRiva was on that stage. She said, well, then Joe, why did you go and remove the leader, the Democratic leader of Honduras, and put in a dictator, turning the country into chaos, and making mass migration come this way? But Donald Trump did hit on. They built the cages.
Yeah,
no. They built the cages.
He's right.
They built the cages, and whether we like it or not, catch and release. Donald Trump paints it in a way where a lot of people, independents who are for security in the wall and that whole thing, or just kind of split on the whole situation, is like, well, catch and release is we catch them here and then we release them into our society. So then he plays to his base the fact that, Americans don't get that same kind of, they have to put up a lot of money as far as bail to get that same type of treatment. So he kind of plays to that base of his and the people that could be on the fence with that issue. You know what I'm saying? So I once again, I think if it was the Convo Couch and we were there, we would concentrate on the cause of the problem of migration and what's going on. We never get that debate. We never get that discussion. But Donald Trump was able to play that to his benefit by saying, Joe, you built the cages.
He knows who he's playing his base to. Yeah. The people who are going to vote for him don't really care about protecting immigrants and stuff. That's why Joe Biden is getting a lot of the people to vote for DACA, for a pathway to citizenship. He's saying he will give a pathway to citizenship flat out if he becomes president. He wasn't saying that before at all. Yeah. That he got that from Bernie Sanders. The public option thing, that was also like the influence of the progressive wing. But I'm not buying that any of this, because he says we're going to protect the ACA and we're going to have a public option. So how does that work? Yeah. You're still going to have people pay for insurance.
That's interesting.
It's still a for-profit system.
Yeah.
How the hell is that going to work? But Donald Trump is offering absolutely nothing when it comes to healthcare, and to me that was his biggest weakness.
That's where he's most vulnerable. But let me say this much, fam. I know there's a lot of people out there would settle with just a public option. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know there's a lot of people who are like, no, Medicare for all. But Dennis Kucinich, remember when they had the ACA, when they were writing this thing up, he's like, no, I am not going to budge. Give us the public option. Now Joe is mentioning that. But I don't think there's any way, chance in hell, especially where his money comes from, that he'll ever give us the fucking public option. But I did say this before this debate. He's got to lie about a few things. He's got to put some shit out there that would make him look good and whatnot. That to me is like, if people do believe that and they take that bait, that could help him and score. That was the first time I saw him reach into the bag, pull it out, and generate some extra votes. Yeah. Because we know a lot of people, we know a friend of ours wearing the Medicare for All beret right now, that people have Medicare for All at the top of their list. And a lot of those people that we argue with left and right, like, why are you giving your power back to the Democratic Party and Joe Biden? He's not going to do dick for you now. He just gave them some ammunition. Some of those people who would think that they're doing what they needs to be done by voting in Joe Biden, which is much better than Donald Trump, I don't believe that, will take the bait from what he said right there, offering the public option. Your thoughts, fam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the public option is a big deal to a lot of people. I think he is just saying that. I agree. I think he's just saying, why didn't they do it in the 8 years they had They had the Senate and the House at one point, both of them. They could have done something.
They stopped it. They stopped it. It was Obama and Biden who wouldn't let it happen.
So I don't believe he's going to do it, but I do think like that's also an attempt to get votes. It's an attempt to get the progressive votes. By the same token, though, instead of saying, you know what, we're going to look into fracking, we might not. No, he doubled down on that and said, no, I never said I was going to ban fracking. Never said I was going to ban fracking. He wants to make sure you know he's not banning fracking at all. He's competing with Donald Trump when it comes to that. Yeah. Yes, he believes in climate change, but also no, he's not going to do anything enough about it. He's talking about the emissions and reducing the emissions, but that's like not enough if you're not going to do what needs to be done to do it. So at the end of the day, it just seems like Joe Biden is all over the place, and they're trying a little bit too little too late to get some of that progressive vote. He also had mentioned on his website now all of a sudden that they are planning on doing some sort of loan forgiveness program for people who have loans. So that's also something that could get the progressives to vote for him, along with the Medicare for All, along with the pathway to citizenship and for DACA recipients. I can see why people are considering that. The problem is I don't buy anything that Joe Biden is saying.
The DACA's a position right over there, and we talked about this. I made a tweet last night, a Facebook post last night. We now know that in the first 4 years of Trump, he deported less people than the first 4 years of Obama and Biden. So, are you going to vote for him? What not? But still, people holding on to the DACA situation.
Yeah, but because because the DACA is like a pathway to citizenship. Great that he didn't deport that many people, but also, what are we going to do with the people here who are undocumented and who are paying taxes and who are working and giving into society? They should have a pathway to citizenship, and Donald Trump isn't providing the actual answer to that.
Now, Donald Trump has made this position. He's took a line on this stuff, and it's so funny because when you hear that old Joe Biden tape, he goes, listen, I'm the guy who wanted a fence. We can build them 40 stories long, and I'm talking 700 miles.
We should replay that soon because people don't know about that enough.
A Democratic crime bill. A Democratic crime bill. This guy was the law and order Democrat. He was the Democrat in the Senate pushing for the Iraq war, pushing for the bombing of Kosovo. The guy
but he repents. He repents, Pasta.
Yeah. Well, now it's repents. Good. I think the first person I saw who put up that tweet or that Facebook was, it said 1973. I know that's the year I was born, when I'm now 61% Italian. The year I was born, 1973, it says Joe Biden enters office, and it goes down the years. It says, wait for it. Gives you all the years, gets all the years at the bottom. And right now, 2020, now he wants to make positive changes to the economy. Bullstein. Donald Trump did a good job of saying, why haven't you done it in 47 years, Joe?
He kept saying that over and over again.
Years. However, I do want to say that Biden, for the first time, did score some points on this debate. He did make some. This was his best debate by far yet. I would have been afraid. I would have never thought he had this good of a performance, but even this good of a performance means he still got his ass beat to Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the decision in 15 rounds, and Joe Biden can't look out of his eyes, and he's missing 3 teeth. But he didn't go down this time. Last time he went down quickly. Donald Trump didn't let up, and it was definitely a tale of two debates. But I don't think he's moving the needle enough to change anything. And, of course, Donald Trump slipped in the laptop. This laptop is going to be the death and destruction, and all these things coming out. Forget about it. And Donald Trump doesn't run away from the fact that he did have businesses in China and he paid those taxes there. And we say the same thing. Well, isn't it funny the fact that the Chinese government makes you pay higher taxes and the Americans let you get away with $750? So it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that are going to vote for Donald Trump are going to vote for Donald Trump at this point. And the independents who see that Biden is avoiding accountability through this Burisma thing, through this thing with Hunter Biden, are going to vote for Donald Trump or vote third party. But I think the people that are going to vote for Joe Biden or feel compelled to do so for specific little issues, the chance of maybe getting something out of it, are going to vote for Joe Biden. And that's that. I think pretty much everybody at this point is going to be decided, is already decided. Like, they already know who they're going to vote for. I think there are very few people that are undecided at this point. I mean, it's just very clear what who you're voting for if you're voting for either of them, I think.
Listen, let me tell you something. The laptop stuff can make people who are like, I don't want to be in part of this shit so pissed off at Joe Biden. They might send a few people to put him over the head for the polls. I don't know. I'm just saying, because we are a tabloid country. We are all about the little stupid shit. So those are the things that really move people over the policy.
Those are the independent-minded people. I don't think a hardcore Democratic Party member or a person that hates Donald Trump is going to even look at that computer story.
I saw a leftist on Rokfin in the middle of the debate says, this guy's such an asshole. He's tempting me to vote for Donald Trump. But
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't ever vote for Donald Trump, but like the Democrats make him be right all the time. It's like, I'm sorry, I have to give Donald Trump a point here. He's pointing out some facts. Sorry to say that. I have to say that. And when Biden was doing it too, I was like, okay, well, you're right about that, Biden. But the thing about Biden is his words, his record doesn't really support what he's saying now.
If you were a leftist, center left, even further to the little bit further to the left, and you didn't have any corporate ties to you, right? But you were saying they're a moderate person, you could still destroy Donald Trump on healthcare. You can destroy him on the environment, but yet they have given up those positions. The fucking Democrats have. Joe Biden with the whole, we're not going to ban fracking. He still doubled down on that stuff. And Donald Trump would call him, like you said, no fracking. Your vice president was one of the co-sponsors of the Green New Deal. As soon as you won the nomination, you went to Pennsylvania. You're like, wait, we're not going to ban fracking. And people feel that way. Because when I heard him say, no, I'm not going to ban fracking, so vibrant and fervent, and like, oh my God, I'm like, what is he doing over here? And by the way, Pleb with a super chat contribution, thank you very much. It's always appreciated on the couch. He says that I am voting for Mark Hamill because he's against imperialism. Hamill, 2020.
Oh, wow.
Mark Hamill played Luke Skywalker.
I know who Mark Hamill is.
John, I'm from my fam, for the Johnny and the other people out there who don't know who Mark Hamill is and stuff. Did you know who Mark Hamill was? See, sounds familiar. Well, you know, he's Luke. He's with the Resistance and the Rebellion and
Rebel
he is
with
scum.
the Resistance. He is voting for Joe Biden. So,
he is.
Yeah.
And his comments that I wish I could this would be over. I could just go back to doing stupid trivia or whatnot. I'm like, yeah, because you got no problems, asshole. You got none. Sorry. He's another one. Please, just go back. You know what? Go back away now.
Let's go back to brunch.
There was never a question about Julian Assange.
Of course there's not a question about Julian Assange.
There wasn't a question about civil liberties.
No.
There wasn't a question.
Or the censorship, because they're the ones censoring everything. So obviously
there wasn't a question about China. No, just kidding. There was plenty of questions about China.
Plenty of questions.
Democracy says, vote for Keith Olbermann's new YouTube channel, TDS of... Yeah, he does have some serious TDS. It's almost funny that Keith Olbermann went over and said that Wolf Blitzer needed to apologize to Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, and Trump brought up Nancy Pelosi and her inability to really reach a deal.
They talked about a stimulus, and he said right away, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want it done. This guy's been sitting here screaming, I'll sign the standalone bill right now. Get in front of me. However... You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe Biden did mention up the Republicans screwing things up, and they should. He should say, what about the Republicans? They're holding it up. And Donald Trump says, I'll get the Republicans to sign whatever you get through there. Like, okay. But the Republicans are putting up a bill that has no direct assistance to the people. Okay? And this is where, once again, our friend Peter Lavelle said he should have went and used a bully pulpit and schooled and yelled and bastardized those Republicans. How dare you get between the American people and their businesses? No, you put forth a bill right now. We're all getting an executive order, and I'll let the people know that you didn't stand by them, and they would have to get in line and sign this bill.
And on the coronavirus thing, too, they were like, it's like the argument is like, well, Trump's like, no, we got to reopen. These small businesses are suffering. Look at California. And it's like, he's right about that. The small businesses are suffering. Yeah. But it's also the fact that they're not getting any money because you people aren't giving them the help that they need. They need help.
Joe Biden, he acts, him and Nancy Pelosi acts like everybody's economically okay.
Yeah.
That we could just shut everything down. Shut everything down, and everything's being okay. Meanwhile, they haven't presented dick for a rent relief bill or money for small businesses since their stupid PPP, while all their dirty friends like the Lakers and colleges were putting their hands in the cookie jar and taking from small businesses who haven't seen a goddamn dime, and 60% of them aren't going to open up.
They're shutting down left and right. They're shutting down left and right. People are going to be out of jobs. Restaurants employ people, etc. So there's a happy medium you could do. If you want to shut shit down, give people more money.
Exactly.
If you're not going to shut things down, then okay, let them work. But you can't. You have to decide what you're going to do. Otherwise, you're just arguing over each other and giving no solutions whatsoever.
Well, I think the American people, the majority of them, are going to look at the economics. Are going to be much more. What's the word? It's going to be it's going to weigh much more than the actual health issues, because a lot of people don't know people who have passed away. It's mostly older people, whatnot.
It is mostly older people.
You know, and don't get me wrong, the disease is really bad and it's awful. And I know, I think a lot of people could have handled it a lot better. But once again, the Democrats just ignoring the economics of the situation is not
Republicans
going to help
ignore
them
the
whatsoever.
disease, the Democrats ignore the economics.
So what do you want? But the economics are going to play a lot harder because people's main concern is that a lot of people aren't concerned about the disease as much as they are paying rent. And that's just the bottom line. They're like, what am I going to do to pay rent?
But this is the capital society
it's
we live in.
So they both suck, and that's why I'm voting for the socialists. Gloria La Riva.
Hey, Gloria
I'm
La
voting
Riva.
for the anti-imperialist.
Socialist, anti-imperialist, leftist.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Gloria La Riva.
Real quick, fams, we should be wrapping up here. Ron actually posted something, did a little collaboration with Fee. No, I want Ron to get the views and the likes, so everyone go to Ron's page. We'll show a second of it, though.
All right.
Wait.
Here, and it's time for another Totez Lit AF episode of Campus Invasion. This week, Ted brings a girl home. Whoa! Will she be his boo-boo, or will he be put in the
sounds like pasta talking.
What's that? Oh, friend zone.
That's literally pasta.
Yeah, I've been seeing this girl down.
So you guys should go watch it.
Oh,
it's really awesome.
Johnny, you don't want to stay on for another hour talk about this debate? We can really analyze it.
Option A sucks. Option B sucks. I mean, what else is there? I mean,
I
option
know.
B wasn't supposed to happen. Option B cheated his way there. I mean, what else is there? I mean,
well, let me tell you something. I got to say that I think that the Biden campaign is going to be a lot happier than they really suspected. Even though he didn't win this debate whatsoever, it's really hard to win this debate because he's in the shithouse now with everything on him. The whole 47 years of disastrous policies, all the breaking scandals right now.
The fact that he brought up the
Russia,
the Ukraine stuff, that they brought it up, it's like you didn't do Biden any favors by bringing that up because Trump can literally deploy all these bits of ammunition.
They're trying to get out in front of it, trying to knock it down, try to let it pass through the night so that it won't be around the minds of around election time. But there's much more stuff coming out. They're slow dripping this information out. And not for nothing, fam. We talked about a lot of this shit a long time ago. When he sits there and says there was nothing wrong, there was no ethics, I didn't do anything in Ukraine, it's like, asshole. You admitted that he needed to fire the prosecutor, otherwise you're not giving them $1 billion. Now you have all these text messages, emails, and everything showing the plans of this going along where they're saying to you, hey, man, you got to handle this prosecutor. He's coming after us.
And
you got to get your dad to handle this prosecutor, Hunter.
And
you got to get it. And then he goes, they got all of it now.
They got the video of him saying, we got rid of him and we put somebody that was solid. Literally, Biden said that.
And what do you know? We put in somebody who was solid. Chuck King. Thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Chuck, you are the king, and it's always appreciated on the couch. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, November 3rd and November 4th, this is my professional voice, fam. We're going to be covering the elections all day and all night on all our platforms.
Hopefully he doesn't talk like
that
the entire time.
We'll have guests from around the country, analysis, and we're going to talk about the swing states. So join us November 3rd, starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Pacific, only on the Convo Couch.
See, this is why I did it, fam, because you couldn't do it.
Oh, stop.
You guys will see what I'm talking about.
We got anything else, Johnny? You want to talk more about this? Can we get the hell out of here? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so you know the deal.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you for all the people who are on the Rokfin tonight and the YouTube. I thought we would leave the YouTube, but since we were on C-SPAN, we had the clear saying, and we stayed there. A lot of Super Chat contributions from you folks tonight. We really do appreciate it.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
FY says, keep going, right? Do more of the voice. We do appreciate all that stuff. Listen, we just came off the suspension from 1 week from YouTube. So what we need you to do, no matter what, is get to that backup. Get up over to the True Rebel Network by Johnny.
True Rebel Network.
True Rebel Network. That's our sister station. So if we get shut down, we usually jump over there. But more importantly, the Rokfin tonight, you guys utilized it. We need you to continue to utilize it. It's a great platform, very clean. They're trying to work through the glitches.
Very beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's like water. He said that in the first debate. But we want you to get over there. Help us out. What's up, Deep Space, who comes in late? We want you to get over to Rokfin, join up, sign. If you have $9.99 a month, help us out, endorse us. It's advertisement free. You get premium content across the board, and we're also everywhere else. Johnny, show the True Rebel Network. Guys, go over to this network right now. It's been a crazy week of censorship. The Last American Vagabond, he has his backup channel up, but his original channel was deleted. And also the Amazing Polly on the other side. There's people left and right getting censored. We know the whole Hunter Biden situation, which was just disgusting, fam.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to manipulate and silence the story and silence anybody talking about it.
But they help him out.
So.
They help Trump out by doing this.
Of course they do.
You're making Joe look more guilty by doing that.
Yep.
What they did today was the right plan.
The collusion.
Get it out there and talk about it. Don't run from it. So once you start suppressing and hiding it, they're going to say, what are you hiding? what's really going on? And that's what they're doing.
You're validating all that stuff. All right, guys.
So also, too, our Patreon, 123 of you and growing. We love you. So we'll see you tomorrow for Pasta Jardula.
Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on those 1s and 2s.
Convo out.
That's right.
Beautiful people.
Peace.